r/ask Reddit. What is a scientific fact that absolutely blows your mind? When you dream, one portion of your brain creates the story, while another part witnesses the events and is really shocked by the plot twists. Self-entertainment, I like it. Edit. Why are so many people replying Picasso? Someone explain me. PLZZ. It gets even weirder. There's two kinds of dreaming. The watching kind, non-REM, and the doing kind, REM. Each night, you go through 3-4 of these non-REM and REM sleep cycles. The non-REM sleep is the deeper sleep and the REM is the lighter sleep. So in the watching kind, it's like you're watching a movie. You're passively observing a character your subconscious created going through a situation. For example, you watch a character you created subconsciously go through their first day of high school. After observing it and drawing some conclusions, or gaining some insight, you then go into REM sleep and now you're in the one going through their first day at high school. You make the decisions. You feel the emotional responses to what's going on, and your body will have physical reactions like sweating from fear, increased heart rate from excitement, dopamine release from something good happening, etc. So it's like watching a training movie and then getting a chance to do it in a practice dream scenario. Approximately 85% of all the mass in the solar system is concentrated in the sun. The mass in our solar system is contained within the sun, Jupiter, and a rounding error. Very true, but even Jupiter could be a rounding error. LOL. It's only 0.095330% of the solar system's mass. The time period in which dinosaurs lived is so vast. There were dinosaur fossils when dinosaurs were still alive. Edit. A lot of people are rightly pointing out that there are currently human fossils around too. I admit that I thought that the fossilization process took a lot longer. I'm still blown away by the scale of time though. Yes, Tyrannosaurus rex is closer to the iPad in timeline than it is to the Stegosaurus. By tens of millions of years. We are so used to seeing dinosaurs portrayed in a single timeline, children's books, museums, that we don't understand the vastness of time they were around. Such a shame T-Rex never got to use an iPad. If you put one of every animal in a bag and then pick one out, you have a 1/5 chance in picking a beetle, and 1/2 chance of picking an insect of any kind. To put it another way, half of all animal species are insects, and 40% of those are beetles. If one could conclude as to the nature of the creator from a study of creation, it would appear that God has an inordinate fondness for stars and beetles. Evolutionary biologist J. B. S. Haldane. I would hopefully pick Paul. How much empty space there is in atoms, like how the duck I'm a solid object, I'll never understand. It's like fishnets. You cannot pass but small stuff can, like straws, etc. Now apply that scale to the extreme. From microscopic to human to planetary. I just wanted to say I hate you for making me think of my leg like it's a really dense fishnet. You can fit all the planets, Pluto included, between the Earth and Moon. Yes, but please don't. Installs Universe Sandbox maliciously. The size of animals still blows my mind. You can read about how a manta ray is 23 feet long and 3 tons, but it doesn't really hit you until you realize that's heavier than most cars. So I live in Hawaii and I'm on night snorkeling with manta rays on my honeymoon in a couple of weeks. I can't wait. Also, it's whale season now, so the humpback are here. And I mean, you know, whales are massive, but they are mind-bogglingly massive in person. It's a whole nother thing seeing an animal the length 2 buses and weighing in at 30 tons launch itself completely out of the water is an awe-inspiring display of power. Just got back from a week long in Kauai. Saw 2 whale mamas teaching their babies to swim. And from far away I thought the babies were adults. Then I saw mom's tails and fins and holy shit. If some sort of super advanced alien species on a planet 80 million light years away from Earth built a high-tech telescope that let them see objects on the Earth's surface, they would be seeing dinosaurs right now. If we go to a certain distance in space, then we can see a lot of our history, like Germany under Hitler's rule, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, 9/11, me doing your mom, the asteroid killing all dinosaurs, and so much more. What bothers me is that this we're going from events further in the past to closer ones. Hitler ruling Germany, the bombs, 9/11, you doing my mom, but then suddenly the asteroid killing all dinosaurs. which suggests to me that dinosaurs are gonna make a comeback but then go away for the same reason they did last time. Sharks are older than trees. Also, trees almost killed all land life on Earth as there used to be nothing that could decompose them. So dead trees covered the ground and killed all other vegetation. Only once fungus evolved did trees start decomposing. Edit. Well, this comment ducking exploded. This was really an off-the-cuff comment based off something I heard years ago, so I figured I'd correct my mistakes and add more detail. The period in which this occurred was known as the Carboniferous Period. Fungus had evolved long before this, around 600 million years before, but it had not evolved the ability to decompose trees due to them evolving during this period. These first trees were actually more closely related to ferns and reproduced via spores rather than seeds. Also, these trees would not have killed all land life. Sorry to disappoint, due to wildfires clearing out the dead trees. That said, the lack of decomposing fungi, which use up oxygen in the decomposition process, and the extremely high number of photosynthesizing plants led to very high oxygen levels during this period, as high as 15% higher than modern levels. This allowed the insects of the time to grow to massive sizes. Insects have a fairly inefficient respiratory system, so without high oxygen levels it's difficult for them to grow to large sizes. Now you might be asking how large? Well, dragonflies were the size of hawks, spiders were the size of house cats, and millipedes were as long as 8 feet. Truly a fascinating point in our planet's history. This is why petrified wood exists. Minerals and elements are sucked up by the wood, replacing the organic fibers over time. Also why coal exists. Huge fires would ravage the earth after the trees fell, then get buried to form coal years later. If two pieces of the same type of metal touch in space, they will bond and be permanently stuck together. Space welding. Cold welding. It makes sense when you understand why it happens. I forgot most stuff including my name, but it has to do with free space in metal atoms that allow them to bond with each other. It does not happen normally on Earth because all sorts of other atoms get in the way. This is interesting and all, but now I want to hear more about your amnesia. I recently read about the split brain experiments. There is a procedure for severe epilepsy that involves cutting the connecting nerves of the two brain hemispheres, resulting in the two hemispheres being unable to communicate with each other. The experiment shows that both halves can answer questions independently of each other, have separate opinions, preferences, form memories independently, basically suggesting that there are two minds in the brain. That just blows my mind. Edit. Typos. I remember seeing videos about this in high school biology. Not only what you have said, but also since each hemisphere has different tasks and you cut their connection, a lot of things become different. For example, if they cover your eyes and give you an object you are familiar with, you are not able to identify it only by touch, because there is no communication between the two hemispheres. You have to see the object to be able to fully identify it. Scary shit. More crazy even is that in certain scenarios where this procedure happened, one could hold up an object with their right hand looking at it only with their right eye, with the left eye blindfolded. When they were asked whether or not they knew what the object was, they would answer positively, but when asked what it was they wouldn't be able to name it or describe it, despite affirming they knew what the object was. I think it had to do with the fact that there are many zones in the brain at play in this experiment. Language, memory, visual perception, touch, that are unable to communicate correctly with each other. Caterpillars basically dissolve into liquid in the cocoon. The only thing left are the so-called imaginal discs, groups of cells that contain all the information and the mechanism to turn that soup into the various body parts of a butterfly. The same applies for other insects. And apparently they retain memories through this process. Studies have been done. Whoa, you're right. A search turned up this. https://journals plus org plus an article id equals 10 1371/journal pone 0001736. There are actually blood vessels obstructing light from reaching certain areas in your eye, effectively creating a shadow. Your brain filters this out and essentially fills in the gaps so you don't actually see the spiderweb-like network of black lines. However, you can visualize them by shining a light at a diagonal into your eye, not directly, and gently wiggling it about. This means your brain doesn't have enough time to filter it out and you see this spiderweb-like network of blood vessels. Technical instructions to clarify the actions involved. I find it easier to see this effect in a dark environment, so the contrast of the black shadow against the light is higher. You want to be staring straight ahead and shining the light into your pupil at a 45-degree angle from the side directed at your nose at about 10-20 centimeters away from them. Phone light will do great and have it on the dimmest setting if possible. Then wiggle the light in gentle 1 centimeter movement side to side. Keep this up for about a second at least and you should see them. Hope this clears it up a bit. Here's a diagram of how to flash the light into your eyes. Diagram he was expecting not that. It ain't much but it's an honest day's work. When the pyramids were built, there were still some woolly mammoths roaming the earth. And Cleopatra lived closer to now than she did to the building of the pyramids. And soon there will be again. There are some Ice Age animals that are so perfectly preserved in permafrost that scientists have been able to find them still with all their soft tissue, hair, and organs. They even found a couple mammoths that still had liquid blood in them, and I remember one scientist even tasting the mammoth meat. Also there was a mummy found in China that was so well preserved that she still had all her skin, hair, organs, etc. Her body was even flexible that you could bend her limbs as if she was alive. They even found her last meal still in her stomach and could perform an autopsy on her to tell you why she died. She died over 2,000 years before she was found. As I recall, the mammoth meat tasted bad, but then, I guess extreme freezer burn will do that. I remember one scientist even tasting the mammoth meat. This is one of the most human things I have ever heard. Without the development of genuinely sci-fi travel technology like wormholes or hyperspace, which may not even be possible, 99+ % of the universe will be forever locked off from us. Because of cosmic expansion, the various galactic clusters are moving away from our local cluster faster than we could ever catch up to them. Without these sci-fi drives, 99% of our galaxy will be forever locked off, let alone other galaxies' galactic clusters. Right? Even Star Trek and Star Wars knew to stay in one galaxy. A million seconds is 12 days, a billion seconds is 31 years, a trillion seconds is 688 years. I used to ask random people I worked with to guess how long it would take to count to a trillion if you counted 24 hours a day without ever sleeping. The longest time someone guessed was 2 months. Most people guessed either days or weeks. I can do it in about a minute, counting by powers of 10. All matter literally gives off light, but we can only see a sliver of that spectrum. Although we do have tools to help us see other spectrums, our bodies give off infrared, and are basically glowing in that portion of the spectrum similar to how iron glows to our normal vision when it's heated. Something that sees a different spectrum than us might not see hot iron as glowing at the same temperatures we see iron glow at. Predator has entered the chat. I'm so glad you asked. I have a list. If all the DNA in the average person was stretched out in a single line, it could reach from Earth to the Sun and back 248 times despite the wildly varying sizes of mammals. Sloths and manatees are the only ones who don't have exactly 7 cervical vertebrae. Hippos sweat sunscreen. And it's red if the entirety of the Earth's history were compressed down to a single day. Humans of any sort wouldn't appear until the last second before midnight if the lifespan of the universe was equated to a human life. The entire time that stars will actually be burning is equivalent to the first day after birth. And finally, my personal favorite, there are about 4 times as many unique ways to shuffle a standard deck of playing cards as there are atoms in the Milky Way. We have lots more fun facts, but these are the ones that I would describe most readily as mind-blowing. Edit. This video is great if you want to talk more about the timeline of the universe. As others have pointed out, I was generous with how much time I gave the living portion and the grand scheme of things. And since people asked, here are some more fun facts. About 20% of the annual GDP for the tiny island nation of Tuvalu comes from licensing out their international internet code. TV reindeer eyes, normally brown, turn bright blue in winter to see in low light conditions. A man stole the 2016 Rio Olympic torch from the relay based on a Facebook Dare Frivol paradigm. pharaoh, and coccyx are the only words in the English language with unique 3-letter endings. Giraffe necks are actually too short to reach the ground, so they have to splay their legs in order to drink water because of their kilts and ferocious attitude. The Scots fighting in World War II were given the nickname ladies from hell by the Germans. UPS drivers are only supposed to make right-hand turns. No left. I'm a history guy, so a lot of my fun facts are more fun historical anecdotes which don't fit here, but feel free to message me for those as well. The card thing is really fascinating to me. Ever read this? Mind-blowing, really. Fat cells do not burn or disappear, they just shrink. Tell that to the crematorium. Hey you/the crematorium. Fat cells do not burn or disappear, they just shrink. Tumors can grow teeth and eyes. AKA my mother-in-law. T-Rex lived 66 million-ish years ago. Stegosaurus lived 155 million-ish years ago. The gap between Rex and Stego is 16 million-ish greater than between Rex and present day. That broke my ducking heart when I found out as a kid. My Dinorama was rendered completely unscientific. Stupid expansiveness of time. The astronauts on the ice aren't floating around because of lack of gravity. Far from it. They are in constant free fall, falling over the horizon of Earth, being pulled by gravity towards the Earth. All of life can be tracked back to a, or several depending on who you ask, continuous billion-plus-year chemical reaction. If you as a person do not have children, you break a billions-of-year-long lineage that goes back to the beginning of life itself. Okay, you want grandkids. I get it, mom, geez. The moon is just large enough, and just far enough away from Earth, to be able to create full eclipses. Some forms of anesthesia don't numb you to pain, they make you forget that you felt it. But every night with dreams, you could theoretically live multiple eternities and remember absolutely none of it when you wake up. We don't have any evidence to prove that this motions vaguely at everything isn't a dream that you'll wake up from and have no memory of. There are no photos of the present. My friend showed me a photo and said, "Here's a picture of me when I was younger. Every picture is of you when you were younger. Mitch Hedberg. This one ducked with me for a second." Exponential power. Fold a big sheet of paper. That is 0.1 millimeter thick 50 times, and the height of stack is over 20 times the distance Earth to Moon. Thank you. This is one that I just absolutely cannot wrap my head around. I know the math checks out, but my brain refuses to visualize it or accept that it could be real. Edit. Thank you to everyone who replied with examples and explanations. I really love the discussion that ensued. I wonder if the replies you lot provided were posted in an exponential pattern. Probably not quite. The double slit experiment. To determine whether light is a wave or particle, changes depending upon observation. When you lose weight, it leaves on your breath, so when people lose 100 lbs 50 kilograms, they have exhaled that much carbon. Echidnas and platypus are the only two animals that lay eggs and also produce milk. This means they are also the only animals that can make their own custard. Time isn't necessarily linear, I know it, but I can't comprehend it. Quantum entanglement, actually probably just that entire field. A speck of dust is halfway between the size of the sun and an atom. This is not true. Did some research and the article one found here gives a better scale. https://shipguy, WordPress.com, the 16th of February 2014. It's all about scale. If you lock yourself up in an opaque cube, a four-dimensional being could still see you. The reason for near weightlessness on the International Space Station is nothing to do with low gravity in space. It's still very close to the massive ball of wet rock that we live on, and still experiences 89% of the gravity that we do. It's just that the ISS is in, almost, free fall, so everything is accelerated by, almost, the same force. It also experiences air resistance, as do most satellites. There isn't a hard boundary between air and nowhere. It tapers off. Oh, and the ISS is already 7 years past its original life expectancy. In 9 years, it will be decommissioned and put on a controlled course back to Earth, smashing it down into the Pacific Ocean. the knowledge that the atoms of our bodies contain elements only forged in the center of stars, and that such stars upon death blow the elements via supernova across the universe and into our very existence. We are made of stardust. With the help of quantum tunneling, there is a 1 in 5, 261 chance that the molecules in your hand and table would miss each other when slamming it, making your hand go through the table. Ice doesn't cool your water. The water heats up your ice. Energy transfers one way. When I realized this studying thermodynamics, I sat and just let it hit me. I friggin' love chemistry. We've never actually seen what the entire Milky Way looks like since we're located inside it. The cosmic horizon. There's vast swathes of space we will never be able to see or know anything about, as space is expanding faster than the speed of light. Solids and liquids don't burn. Only their vapors and gases. That's why you can't just throw a huge log on the fire and have it burn. You need to haul its temperature up until the surface starts pyrolysis and turning into a gas, which then burns at it. Good example is gasoline, petrol versus diesel. Petrol produces vapors at quite low temps, so you can throw a match on it and ignite them. Diesel does not, so you can't light it by flicking a match into a pool of it. It's the vapors that burn, not the liquid solid. There is one that always leaves me pondering what could have been. There was a time in Arabia, at the time the Khwarezmian Empire, when mathematicians were doing great work and making massive advances in science. Basically Arabic numerals and such. They nearly had a kind of renaissance 300 years before the Italian one. It even got to the point where the popularity of Islam started to wane slightly in favor of advances in science in this region. One day 3 diplomats were sent to this kingdom from the Mongol Empire in an attempt to stop a war before it had time to take off. The Shah had one of the diplomats beheaded and the other 2 publicly humiliated. Big mistake, doesn't even cover it. Genghis Khan, upon hearing of this, stops a war he was having with China to march all the way to Arabia and absolutely massacres the Khwarezmian Empire. A survivor reportedly pleaded to Allah in front of Genghis, to which he said, if your God truly cared for you, he would not have sent me. Their empire was assimilated into the Mongol Empire and Genghis put the fear of God in them so much their work was destroyed and they abandoned most of their scientific pursuits, going back to a more religious-based society, out of superstitious fear, as a fault of Genghis's ominous statement, which is why ultra-conservative Islam is still so prevalent in that area today. Just imagine what kind of world we could be looking at now if that destruction didn't happen and their renaissance flourished. A 12-inch vinyl can hold 440 megabytes of data. The position of a particle is a probability distribution. When you look at the sky at night, there is something visible to the human eye that is not even in our galaxy. It's 5 million light years from our galaxy, and we can still see it without any assistance. For reference, the Milky Way itself is 100k light years across. The Andromeda Galaxy is the only thing outside our galaxy the human eyes can see. The fact that we can see something that far away, and that it is the single solitary thing we can see outside our home galaxy, blows my mind. Edit. My memory has been corrected. There are other things outside the galaxy we can see unaided, but they are closer. Open bracket. X. Magellanic Cloud. That if a man were to take out all his intestines and stretch them out over an American football field, they would die. The fact that we are all dead in practical terms for forever. We were not alive for billions of years before birth, and we will be dead for billions of years after death with only a blink of conscious existence and deep time. As Mark Twain put it, I had been dead for billions and billions of years before I was born, and had not suffered the slightest inconvenience from it. The fact that time works different in the universe, the fact that it is faster or slower in some parts of the galaxy just blows my mind. Looking at you, Interstellar. A hummingbird beats its wings 12 times a second. A recently discovered vine can mimic nearby artificial plants, modifying the size, shape and color of its leaves to match them. The only plausible explanation is that plants can see. Tomorrow on BuzzFeed, 10 scientific facts that will blow your mind. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.